Hi everyone, welcome to the next video in the How to Play series for the City of Stains, and the next in the series dealing with the specific factions and the advanced actions available to those particular factions. In this video, I'm going to deal with the enemy, the faction which has the black color, and the enemy is a faction that is not particularly difficult to play, but does have an additional set of cards which I'm going to deal with and talk you through with the help of Tabletop Simulator. Now, like every other faction, the enemy has 10 action cards, but it also has an additional deck of cards known as underground cards. Now, this deck consists of 9 cards, each of them representing one of the starting quarters in the city. So, in this case, we have the card representing the avenues. And there are 2 action cards that interact specifically with the underground cards. The first, not surprisingly, is known as underground. This is a card that has no cost to play, but does have certain requirements. The 2 leaders in question, at least one of them, must be active and must be level 2 in order to play the cards, and there must also already be at least one discontent token in the city. The effect of this card is to place what are known as underground tokens in the local quarter. The underground tokens look like this. And the playing of this card means that one such token is placed in an area where you have a leader. Now, you can only place one in each quarter. You can't place more than one underground tokens in a single quarter. When you do so, however, you add influence to an underground card, such as the avenues, equal to the number of underground tokens that are in play currently. So when you play this card for the first time, there will only be one underground token in play, so you'll place one influence onto an underground card. Now, as the player of the enemy, you know which cards are which, but the cards are kept face down. So you will place your influence onto one or more face down underground cards. The other players will not be aware of which quarter those underground cards refer to. The next thing to note about underground is that the secondary action means this card is shuffled back into your draw deck. So you can cycle through this card fairly quickly, um, and each time you do so, you are adding more influence to underground cards, increasing the number of influence you have on those underground cards. And they represent the fact that the enemy has these underground caches of supporters who are unknown to the authorities and to anyone else for that matter, and who are simply waiting for the opportunity to come up and take over quarters. And that is essentially the enemy's ability is to effect significant changes to influence without warning, uh, more significant the later on in the game. The other card that's linked directly to this strategy or this mode of play is the Uprising card. It does have a cost, and the cost is a melody token to either of the leaders depicted on the card, alternatively to another leader if neither is active. But then, if neither is active, you wouldn't be able to play the card. So it's extremely likely that one of these 2 leaders will acquire a melody token. Once again, those leaders must, one or more must, sorry, at least one must be active and level 2. And to activate this card, or inactivating this card, you remove all of your influence from one of your face down underground cards and use them to convert the same number of influence in the corresponding quarter. So whatever quarter is depicted on that card, you remove the influence, you put it into that quarter, and you convert the equivalent number of influence tokens from other factions. Obviously observing the rule that when you convert, you must first convert civilians before you can convert influence of other factions. So the more influence tokens you build up on specific quarters, the more you can effect significant change to the influence profile of that particular quarter. The secondary effect of Uprising is that you can draw a card from a building card. Now remember, you can either draw off the top of the deck or you can take one of them from the row, the face-up row of building cards, but then of course you need to pay the costs, which may go to the guild if they're in the game. So those are the two cards that interact with your underground cards and how you use them. The other cards don't directly relate to the underground cards themselves. The first is propaganda. This requires a particular leader to be active and level 2. You must also have at least 8 influence in the city. Now, bear in mind the special ability of the enemy is that influence tokens on underground cards are considered to be influence in the city. So they count towards this total. Furthermore, there needs to be at least one leader in either jail or exile. Now, it doesn't have to be your leader, it can be anyone's leader. And interesting to note, this is one of the few cards that the enemy has that can be affected by way of the Royal Council, should it be available to you. But the effect of the card is to level up a single leader who is in jail or exile. Now remember that jail or exile can become places which become quarters in the game, and the faction that controls those quarters is the faction who has the highest total level count or levels, the highest total number of levels on leaders in that area. So if you, for example, had a level 2 leader in jail, you could use this card to make that leader a level 3 leader while they are still in jail. Because generally speaking, you can't level up leaders that are not active. This card allows you to break that rule. In addition, you can remove 2 influence from any other faction in a quarter that you control. So it's a powerful way to remove uh, other players' influence or potentially civilians because they count as a faction. I forgot to mention this card has a 1 coin cost, and the secondary action allows a conversion of 2 influence anywhere on the board. So that is a powerful secondary action. Generally speaking, a fairly powerful card. The next card is Sabotage. This is a card that has an action very specific to the enemy. The cost is 1 malady token. The leader, by whose name is Otto the Burner, must be level 2 and active. Um, and there must be at least 2 discontent tokens in play. And the effect of this card is to destroy a building in the local quarter. The card is leader linked, so you must have a leader there. But once again, this is one of the cards that requires a die roll. The total, as always, that required for the action to succeed is 6. If you do succeed, you place a ruin token to replace the destroyed building. You remove the building card from the building card, actual built buildings row on the board. You discard it and you replace it with a ruin token. Once more, the secondary action, which only applies if you do succeed, is to gain a treasure. The next card is fairly self-explanatory. It's called Murder. The cost is a malady token. As you'll see, the enemy has many cost cards or many costs on cards, which are malady tokens. It's the nature of its business that its leaders will become involved in events that cause them to suffer maladies. The requirement is simply that the character depicted be active. It doesn't have to have any specific number of levels, it just has to be active. And it's leader linked, so there has to be a leader in the local quarter. Dice roll is required, but the effect is to remove a leader in the local quarter and place him in the graveyard. It doesn't require too much imagination to know what this card is all about. However, if you do succeed, you add a discontent token to any quarter in the game, remembering that you can only place a discontent token in a quarter where there's not already one. The next card is Terror. Terror also has a cost of a melody token. The requirement is that one of the two leaders depicted should be active and at least level 2. It's a leader linked card, but it allows you to remove a civilian in a local quarter. If you do, then you convert further 2 civilians. So the effect would be to, sorry, if you do so, you convert a further 2 influence, not necessarily civilians. So as long as there is a civilian to remove, this card can be used in a specific quarter. If there are no civilians in a quarter, then this card can't be used in that quarter. The effect is to place a discontent token, once again, in any quarter of the city which doesn't already have one. The next card is somewhat unusual. It's known as Disguise. There is no cost. This particular leader must be level 2 and active, and you must have 8 influence, either on the board or on your underground cards. And the effect is to copy the main action of any advanced card or any advanced action played this round by another faction. So you'll have to look at the face-up cards played as advanced actions by the other factions in play and copy the main power of that card. If that main power requires a dice roll, then you obviously have to make the dice roll. If ultimately you succeed in that action, you would then take the secondary action on this card, which is to convert 1 influence anywhere in the city. So this card obviously allows a lot of flexibility, has more flexibility depending on how late in the round you play it, and therefore how many other factions have already played advanced actions this round. Thugs is a simple card. Otto the Burner must be active, and you must have at least 2 melody tokens already on your faction board. But as you can see from the cards I've already discussed, just by taking advanced actions, it's likely that you will accumulate melody tokens fairly quickly. The effect, which is leader linked, is to add 1 melody token to up to 3 leaders in the local quarter. Now, they can be of any faction, and you don't have to add to 3, you can add to less, but there must be up to 3 leaders in the local quarter, and each one of them acquires a single melody token. You can't put all 3 on one leader or 2 against one leader. You can only add 1 melody token to each leader in question. If you do to at least 1, then you can effect the secondary action, which is to steal 1 coin from any other player. The card doesn't really require any more explanation other than it is a way of adding melody tokens to leaders fairly effectively. Then we have Rich Sympathizer. The card has a cost of 1 influence, and the leader depicted must be active. Furthermore, you must have less than 10 coins in your treasury to be able to play this card. The effect is that you will gain 3 coins per the number of underground tokens in play. The more underground tokens, the more coins you gain from the use of this card. It is a Royal Council card and can theoretically therefore be played using your Royal Council influence or relying on a vote. The secondary effect of this card is to draw another additional card from your draw deck, giving you potentially another card play this round. So it's an effective card, but limited in the sense that can only be played when your coins are at a low. The last action card is called Covert, once again costing one influence from anywhere on the board, or, uh, and in both cases, rich sympathizer and covert, you can choose to remove that influence from an underground card, should you wish to. One or more of the two leaders depicted must be active and must be level 2 to play this advanced action. The effect is to place one of your leaders that has to be a level 1 leader into jail or exile. So you can actually get one of your own leaders into jail or exile without a dice roll, as long as that leader is level 1. And the next effect is that you can look at the hand of any other player who has a leader there. So not only are you getting leaders into those places, which could be valuable if those places have converted to quarters, but you also get an insight into the hand of another player. Obviously, any card that allows you to look at the hand of another player is more valuable played early in the round when players have full or close to full hands of cards. The secondary effect is to gain a treasure. So this is a card which allows you to manipulate the game state and potentially thwart other players' plans. So those are the 10 advanced actions specific to the enemy. As you can see, it's very easy to tell from those actions what the theme is behind this particular faction. Um, but I don't want to go into specific strategies in this video, other than to give you an idea of what the cards do. And I hope that it has given you an idea of what the cards do, how to play them, and when you're more likely to play them, should you decide to play the enemy, which is a fun, aggressive, uh, very confrontational faction, um, and suited to the play styles of specific individuals. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and that you enjoying playing the city on Tabletop Simulator. If you are, please just drop me some feedback, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video, which will deal specifically with the faction known as the Crown. This is Rob saying goodbye.